Welcome to Soil and Soul, a Catholic Passage podcast. Before beginning today's episode, we give God the first fruits of time and attention by listening to His Word and reflecting upon it with one of our spiritual fathers. May you be blessed with the Lord in your minds, on your lips, and in your hearts to bear the fruit that eternally endures.
Hello, this is Father Brian Feller, and I will be reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 1 through 4, which can be read on Wednesday, October 1st, for the memorial of St. Therese of Lisieux. The disciples approached Jesus and said, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a child over, placed it in their midst, and said, "Amen, I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." This reading is wonderful. It really fits St. Therese of Lisieux, who Therese was born in France in 1873 and died at the young age of 24 in 1897. She became a Carmelite nun at the age of 15 or 16 after asking the Pope for permission to enter the Carmelite monastery early. She had a great desire to be a missionary. Although she wouldn't leave her monastery for all those years, she saw that she could help souls throughout all the world through her prayers, especially through offering up her sufferings with Jesus. This reading about being a child, or rather being childlike, is the little way of St. Therese. She saw that as a child is lifted up in the air by his or her parents, as an elevator lifts up a person from the ground floor straight up to the next level or levels above in the building, so too does God lift up the humble. Those who acknowledge their limitations and acknowledge who God is and his power. God wants to lift you up. We think about the machines that we have that lift up the grain from the stalk or from the plant and processed through the combine and thrown into the hopper and then put into the grain cart and moved into the semi trailer and then later put in a grain bin or an elevator that then lifts up the corn or beans into the air to drop into some other transfer vehicle like a train or a truck to go to its destination. All this movement that happens by the ingenuity of humans using our God given talents to create these machines to move the grain. We might at times be tempted to think that we have it all together. And oftentimes, as farmers, we know we don't because of all the things that are outside of our control. But there might be a time or a moment where we think things have to be a certain way at a certain time with certain people, perhaps, for things to work out. And we might not just apply that to farming, but to life, perhaps even to our eternal destination. And what the challenge with that perspective can be is that it's according to our mind. But God our Father, He has the big picture. He sends Jesus to rescue us no matter how much we don't have it together. Things are not in the right place at the right time in the right way. Jesus comes to meet us in those places and to invite us to be like the little children and say, "Yes, help me, lift me up." So we ask St. Therese's prayers from heaven for all of us to Jesus, that we may be enriched to have the same confidence, the same trust in God as she did.
Take a moment to recall that one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes forth from the mouth of God. Pause to reflect upon God's word to you today. Did you notice anything captivate your attention or stir in your heart? While reflecting, share your thoughts with God. When you are ready, resume this podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of Soil and Soul. God bless you and thank you for joining us.
Welcome to Soil and Soul, a new Christian podcast for those who want to invest in yields that count most. 5 days a week during planting and harvest seasons, Soil and Soul looks to help you sow seeds and reap a golden harvest.
Hey, welcome back to Soil and Soul podcast. This is Kayla for your Wednesday Worldly Concerns. I've brought on today two former coworkers of mine, Mike and Deb McCarty. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So we are going to dive into something that's special to them is called Mission Honduras, that they've really taken over. You guys have gone several times to Honduras with some kids, with adults, a part of that, and then just kind of how you're branching off and doing more things with that mission. So give us a little background on you, the two of you, a little bit, what you do, and then how you guys got involved in specifically Mission Honduras.
I went with Lamar's Galen Catholic in 2016, kind of on a whim, because Mr. Sievert and I talked multiple times at the Diocesan Ministry Conference, and Dick Sievert always said great things about going, and I said, well, I'd like to go, but I kept saying it, and finally Dick said, put up or shut up. So I went in 2016, and the rest is history.
How many times have you gone?
We've had 4 student trips and 1 adult.
You have gone down there on your own,
yeah.
Way more to kind of prep and just see, and you've changed locations and whatever. But so you've been down there several times.
I've been down there 9 times.
9 times.
9 times.
How many have you been down there, Deb?
I've gone on 2 student trips and then 2 kind of our trips where we just went to kind of scout things out and see where we could buy wood and make sure that the site was safe for us to bring students to. So I've gone 4 times. This year will be my 5th time with students.
That's so crazy. It just feels like it just started, but also like that it's been going for so long. You guys have it's such a well-oiled machine, really, at this point. And a lot of that is because of getting so much, well, of course, the Lord, but having such a great contact in Lamar's Galen going for so long before that, and then adopting and kind of like adapting how it can fit for our students, so too. If it ain't broke, don't fix.
They did a wonderful job. Sent on board too with the school board when I came back, and he put in a good word for it. And Carolyn Bickford from Lamar's was doing it for years, and they were a well-oiled machine and still are. Due after them, obviously we've changed locations, but that hasn't really changed the mission.
Talk about the location that you guys are at now, because it's a really unique, different than where you were going when you first started. And then maybe also like, why did you guys shift? Because you went to the same location that Lamar's Galen had gone to.
We switched and started going to a little village called El Motatal, which is really by Comayagua when you fly into the airport there. We met a man who started Impact Ministries International, and he began creating a community in Honduras called the City of Refuge, where he tried to kind of rescue children from some things were like abuse, some was just homelessness or, hunger and insecurity, food insecurity. And so he started an orphanage and then a school, and then he just kept adding on to that. And now they have 90 kids who live there. It's like a boarding school. They have a welding shop. They have a big farming production.
Do the kids stay? How long do the kids? So they enter in at school age?
A lot of different ages. But I think the youngest is like 4 or 5. And then when they get to high school, they shift out. And they either go to high school or they shift into the working world. And they try to help them get jobs. And this really gives them a fighting chance. They get to have 3 meals a day. They have a nice, safe place to live, an education. And most of that's paid for through donations from people and like groups like us coming in and helping them.
What's the, so we talked about, you mentioned sustainability, and they're nearly fully sustainable. So what do they they make, like, they have their own food source there. What is that?
They've researched a lot into growing or raising tilapia fish, tons of chickens, thousands upon thousands of chickens. Small.
When you say thousands of chickens,
10,000.
10,000 chickens, and they are all laying eggs every day, or they are butchering them too.
They're doing both. Most of them are for egg laying, but then
so they are collecting 10,000 eggs a day. That's a lot of eggs.
They're feeding a lot of people, and that helps bring an income to help them become more and more self-sufficient. They also have a little bit of diversification into hogs and beef, but nothing like what you and I have ever seen. However, they do have a fairly large agricultural-based farming community, which is good.
They have a lot of fruit trees, vegetables, so they grow a lot of food that they feed the people who live there, the community members around them, and they sell to grocery stores and really help the country of Honduras.
How big is this city of refuge?
Over 250 acres.
Okay, so they are able to really become diverse because they do have the space.
Correct.
And working with the land. What's the land in Honduras as far as, like, because they are able to be so diverse, what is that like?
The land is very mountainous.
So they're kind of limited then?
They kind of are. 30% of their land is used for agriculture. And that's mainly like growing coffee up in the mountain. In the lower areas, they grow a lot of bananas. Those are the two main exports, is coffee and bananas. Most of the rest of it, they do have kind of like chunks of land where they might have corn and beans and have some livestock. But that's all just for like local consumption, not for exporting.
Would you say that the country, because they're keeping so much of it and they are so diverse, that as far as like their health needs and their nutrition is still okay, or are they still they're low in that as well?
Right. The poverty level is really high. We were researching a little bit and said a great percent of them, close to over 60%, are making $6 a day on average, which is at or below the poverty level. Some so extreme that they're down to the $2 a day level. So these are extremely poor people, with well over half of the country very poor.
What is their economy then? Like what's their main, if they're not into agriculture, what other jobs?
You would see a lot of little like pop-up markets, like a farmer's market. You might have somebody who grew some cantaloupe and they're trying to sell cantaloupe, and that's their living. A lot of tortillas. They sell a lot of tortillas to each other. If you live out in the villages, it's hard for them to get into town if you can't afford to pay for the taxi to get to town. Okay. You rely on your neighbors and whatever they're selling and you're selling, and they kind of trade with each other in these little kind of market type.
Okay. Talk about how the trip works. What do you do when you're down there with the kids or even the adults? Like what do you actually do when you arrive to the City of Refuge?
We're highly spiritual as far as having a priest along. We start the day with Mass. Our goal is always to have the kids very involved in everything we do, the building of the homes, the outreach to the community where we bring food to poor villages, etc. We get into the homes, we expose them to the local culture, but also the large amount of people that are very poor. And I think you can see it on TV or you can hear about it, but until you've actually been there and dealt with it, you just don't empathize. You just don't understand. Okay. And the reality is, our ultimate goal is to get these kids so immersed in helping others that they come back and want to help locally in the United States or go global again, but we want them to be lifelong servants of others.
What are some of the tasks that the kids do when they're down there? Because you guys are there for 10 days. Yeah. So what are they actually physically doing when they...
some of the kids go in the morning, they go collect eggs.
10,000 eggs.
So they collect eggs. That takes about 4 hours or so.
Oh my gosh.
Usually we sent a group of 6 to 8 kids. The last time we went, we helped paint one of the boys' dorm rooms. So we painted that whole dorm for them. We painted a couple of little apartments from some of the workers. just the odds and end things. Some of the boys went and helped make chairs and tables for their kitchen. And then once the builders get to a spot, then it's kind of all hands on decks for the building. Then the kids are helping put the siding on, and we're putting the interior walls together, and then we start painting, and that takes everybody.
It's crazy that in the 10 days that you were there, that you can build a house for two houses for families in need. And they're very basic houses, but they're also, for them, so appreciative. And you guys have seen that, like what the families, when they receive these homes, that it's nearly life-changing.
Well, at the end of our ceremonies, we have a key passing where every single missioner touches the keys, and then it ends up in the hands of the owners. And usually there's not a dry eye in the house because
so cool.
They've all had a part of such an essentially, things we take for granted: security, the ability to lock a door, the ability to actually have windows and doors. A lot of the homes that we look at in the area do not have windows that we are used to, or the ability to lock the front door if there is a door. And so those things that we take for granted have now been given, and I think our kids really, really just love that part of it, because it is the culmination of everything we've done. But that's not to forget all the lives we touched with the food. And the kids, I've played with their kids, the Hondurans have played with the American kids. There's relationship building that is lifelong, and it's hard to leave. It is. They're ready to go home, but at the same time, they've left part of their heart in Honduras.
What's the life like for the kids there? Like, what are their expectations, or like a schedule of sorts, since they are living there? It is a boarding school, so they are there 24 hours a day. What is that structured?
The kids get up at 6 a.m. and they have time for their Bible studies. They have to, make their bed every day, iron their clothes before they go to school. They iron them before they put them on.
Wow.
They spend their day at school, and that's very structured. After school hours, when missioners are there, we can schedule time to all play soccer, or the kids can make friendship bracelets with them, or we can schedule some of those things after their school hours. After they eat, they've got a little time to go, they call it soaking, and they soak in the Word of God, and usually they're listening to a Bible story, and they are kind of talking and how it relates to their life. And then on Saturdays are their cleaning days. So they mop and sweep their floors, they clean their sheets, they do their laundry. By laundry, it's the old washing board laundry.
Oh my gosh.
And that's kind of interesting to see. Their 4 and 5-year-old boys were trying to teach our high school boys how to do their laundry. And after about 10 minutes, one of the little boys looked at me and just said, "Oh, geez, we're going to be here forever. Can we just do it for them?" So they did their laundry, and our boys realized how lucky we are, how blessed we are to have, modern technology. We have washing machines and dryers and moms who are doing it for them.
So so jobs are not necessarily divided out by age group. They're all doing all of the jobs at all of the ages.
Right.
Wow.
They're serving the food to each other. They do their own dishes. I mean, these kids are very responsible. And if they aren't, or they have discipline issues, then they are sent home. So their parents are really on them about behaving and doing what they're supposed to do, because this is their chance at a better life.
How often do their families see them? Or do they go to their families, or how does that?
Come to IMI once a month to see them. Some of them, it's further out. If they live farther away, they may not be able to afford to come and see them.
Oh, sure.
I think it's Christmas and summer they go home for a week. Those that have families at home. There are some that are there full time and don't leave. So their time with their parents is very limited.
Yeah, that's so hard.
I think about that sacrifice as a parent, and what that would be like to give up your child essentially to let them have a better chance at life than you can offer them.
Yeah, that love of as a parent, I love you so much to know that I actually cannot provide for you like you should be able to have. And are there qualifications that they have to be able to take a student in, or how are these families selected? Or
I don't know. I know some of the children have been rescued from like
situation.
Yeah, situations that
Okay.
trafficking and those kind of things. But I'm sure part of it's probably an income based type thing.
Well, I'm going to do a shameless plug for you and your coffee, because I think this is so cool that so you have this whole like Mission Honduras and you've built these great relationships, but then I feel like Mike does a lot of he's always like the front man that you see. He's like the PR boy on this, and Deb works a lot of behind the scenes of it. And you complement each other so well in doing that. But then Deb, you've taken this like total like spiral of the coffee and promoting that so much. Okay, tell us about that.
So we've partnered with Tim Mooney from Ames, and he goes to Uganda and Honduras, and he buys coffee beans from the farmers directly. So the farmers make a lot more money, and he gets quality coffee. It's very good coffee. And he brings it back, and a former student of his owns Windmill Coffee in Ames, and he roasts it for them. And then I got the opportunity a couple weeks ago to go and help grind it, measure it out, package it, and then bring it back. So when you're buying the coffee from them, you're getting fresh, very fresh coffee. And so we sell it for $15 a pound, and they give $4 back to us for Mission Honduras. So it's just another little way to kind of make a little extra money for our mission. Last year we made enough to pay for all the beds and the bedding and towels and stuff for the house, and we just kind of use it for those extra things that we want to add to the houses.
How can people get the coffee from you? I'll put in a little find Deb.
Well,
what's the easiest way? Because if people really are, because I think that there's enough people in our local community that are starting to, because people have tried it now. They've realized that it is a really good coffee.
Right.
And then, so like now, how can they?
Right. They can email me at McCarty, MCCARTY, 6171 @gmail.com.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I was going to tell you, Kayla, I think my favorite part of the trip is taking the students on the home visits. So we bring clothes and shoes and blankets and things, but most importantly, we usually fill a bag full of food. And it will be like rice and beans and things that they can cook and use very easily. And I love watching the kids finally get it, that there is true poverty in this country. Because you don't always see it till you go into their homes and you realize they don't have any water, they don't have electricity. Their walls are sometimes just a tarp or scrap wood or sticks. And you might have 7 people living in a 1-bedroom little shack, and they're just laying on the floor, and they don't have any shoes. And so you start to see these high school kids, their brains just trying to wrap their minds around what they're seeing. But I told the group I was with, when they go in, to really pay attention to like the kitchens. I always am thinking about the moms, who are cooking over a barrel. Basically, they have barrels that have like a cutout where they put sticks in, and they light those on fire, and then they're cooking on top of the barrel. And they don't have any stoves, and they have a pila, which is like a cement area where there's water, and they use that for doing their dishes, doing their laundry, taking a shower. They just use a cup of water out of that and pour it over themselves. So they really start to see how blessed they really are. But the one house I went to that really got me this year was this woman lives with her father and his friend, and she was cooking a bag of beans when we got there. And I asked her if that was their lunch for the day, and she said, "No, this is our food for the week. I don't get paid until next week, so we will cook this, and then we'll divide it into 3 for the 3 of us, and then we divide it however we want to for ourselves." And so she was planning on having like 2 beans for lunch and maybe 2 black beans for supper, and was going to try to get this to go. And she said, "I literally was praying while I was cooking that God would send me something, because I didn't know how we were going to make it for another week." And in walks our group with this bag of food and hygiene products and all those kinds of things that she would need, and she just was sobbing. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You're literally saving people's lives, and you always wish you could do more, but you do what you can with what you have.
Oh my gosh, that is... I don't think even like me sitting here and hearing like that woman was going to eat 2 beans for lunch.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And just praying that they can get through the week. I think that's important for the kids to see, like that visual, because you can hear about it and you can see videos, like Mac had mentioned, like you can see videos and you can see pictures online and we see commercials on TV, you know, but unless you are like feet on the ground and witnessing and just for a sliver of time experiencing it, you'll never wrap your head around that.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see our kids grow in their faith in this trip, and they start to grow in knowing that God is with you, even in those hard times. He's with you, and He will take care of you, and He will provide. We have so much that it's so good for them too to have that giving spirit, to be able to see that how their giving made such a difference in their lives.
That's so cool.
So we gave the keys to this homeowner. This was our last time in Nueva Capital, which is above Tegucigalpa, our old location where Lamar's Galen was. And the kids went through the house screaming and yelling in Spanish that they were so excited, enjoying all the things that we bought through Mission Honduras for them, bunk beds, blankets that the third graders at Kemper made. Just a lot of really cool contributions that people had given. And then I watched Mom and Dad, and Mom was crippled, and so Dad had to carry her across the threshold, which was beautiful in itself. The door was barely open because Mom and Dad were having a private moment, and they were in tears. And they were just, I think, tears of contentment, but also security. I've never seen such raw emotion on a couple's face, where I think we finally get to provide for our family. And to take that, and I remember one of our missioners, Julie Peaty, watched this woman from the beginning of the week until the end, and she said she saw her eyes change from sheer torment almost to sheer joy. And I take a woman to watch a woman, but I saw the same thing where they just relief and security. And that's one of the beauties of being able to be there, is to provide things that they want to provide but couldn't. And then we set him up with tools so that he was a good carpenter. And so we gave him tools so that he could start his own trade. And those are the things we look for, is how can we help them beyond the... You can give people food, but if you can't continue to give them something of sustenance, they're going to run out. So we try and always find a theme, of ability to get in there and get the sustainability. And that's one of the things that IMI provides for our homeowners, is a job, usually employment, but also security with the homes. And then outside, we look for that sustainability.
What's the faith like down in either, I mean, the country as a whole, but this, probably because you guys are so in IMI, you know, you just know them so well. So what is their faith?
A lot of them are non-denominational on campus, but it's a highly Catholic country, very Christian, very prayerful. You can listen at night to the parties going on, the playing of music. There's a lot of joy. And I think Mother Teresa said it well when she said, you know, the United States kind of suffers from spiritual poverty. They don't seem to. They seem to be very joy-filled people. I can remember Deb receiving a gift from a woman. It was just a piece of fruit. It was not a nice piece of fruit. But from her, it was a gift of love from one woman to the other. And she took it graciously. That's the kind of joy and spirit that they have. We don't have a lot of possessions, but we have a lot of family and spirituality. So it's very beautiful there.
And the kids are very immersed into, on campus, how IMI is structured is very faith-based because of its founder is a pastor. So there's within their schedule of the day, but then also they're coming from a background even that of just the culture itself of the country is very faith-filled. And so those kids just have, you can see their pictures when you guys share them, that they are joy-filled kids. I mean, this is beyond just being happy.
Even the villages where, you know, they maybe don't have that organized religion. The kids are running around and they're playing with sticks and rocks, and they're just having fun. It's so beautiful to see just natural joy, and it's beautiful.
That's so cool. This year you guys are going to bring a group of students again, correct?
Correct.
So
Our students have to pay their full trip, so we don't fundraise for their cost of going. You know,
Yeah.
They pay for their own airline ticket, our hotel stay, everything that is with the trip they pay for. The students fundraise to raise money to build the houses.
okay.
So all the money that they raise through that is we get the building supplies, we pay for like the cement work, there's some legal work that has to be done for the houses, the food packages,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff,
Sure.
everything that we do there. So that's what 100% of their money that they raise from the raffle or just donation goes straight to supplies.
What do the adults do when you take an adult-only trip? That is a little bit different than when you take students.
First of all, the adult trip's nice because, like the kids, they're like-minded individuals that want to do something positive. The adults have a much more major investment. It's their money, it's their time, it's their vacation. All those things come into play. The adult trip actually blossomed out of our kid trip with the Kemper kids. Some people just said, hey, I'd like to go on an off year. And I said, well, we can't, we don't have a trip. They said, well, how about we just have an adult one? And so it was just really neat to watch. And everybody had their own little niche. We have older gentlemen who used to do a lot through Habitat for Humanity, and Dan's his name, and then he just would school people on how to do things, or this construction worker would say, okay, you guys do this. So we were able to departmentalize a lot more, and we have 2 days of travel out of 10, so that's 8 days, and we took 2 more days where we went to church and shopped and stuff, and so we basically built that house in 6 days. And these are rock stars. These are people that really performed well and had a lot of fun, and they still played cards at night, went over to the games with the kids, visited them in their spiritual elements and stuff like that.
But thanks, guys, for sharing Mission Honduras, and it gives a little insight to, I think people have an idea of what mission work is like, and they, maybe they've heard of other people go, but to actually hear from you guys the backhand of like the organizing it, what it's actually like when you guys are down there, I think it helps put into perspective a little bit, but without actually ever going.
Well, thank you for letting us share our passion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so cool. And one of these years, I will join you on a trip. So that's it for today. I hope everybody's harvest is going well, and just remember that we're all doing it for the glory of God.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Soil and Soul, and we hope that it blesses you. Please stay tuned during the week for the other daily shows that we offer as part of this special ministry project we're providing during the peak seasons of planting and harvest. Also, if you'd like to find out more about Catholic Passage, how you might collaborate with us, or even support our mission, please visit us at CatholicPassage.com. Most importantly, you can support us with your prayers. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us.